I want to be heard, but I'm scared of being seen. I'm kind of like a crazy homeless man speaking about whatever on the street, and then the second the passerby like stops in their tracks to look at me, I kind of get shy. Let me tell you a story. So, beginning of this year, I was at a festival because it was like a national holiday, and me and my cousin were walking out, and a dude was approaching us. And for me, I already had an eternal sigh because one thing about my country is that the catcalling is pretty disgusting. It can get pretty disgusting quite quickly. And he was like, "Are you XYZ calling me by my Instagram handle?" I was like, "Yes." And he was like, "No, I saw your content. I actually was the one who followed you like here." And I was like, "Oh, so it is you." And for some time I got pretty shy and I was like, "Dang, this guy probably thinks I'm way cooler than he actually sees online." Because like I said, I'm pretty socially stunted if I don't really prepare well or if I don't really have any strong ulterior motive before I meet someone. And I went out of that conversation feeling I felt very uneasy. Not because I completely blew the conversation, but mostly because I was thinking, now how many other people have seen me, but they didn't approach me? And it's not like I was doing any like thing weird there. I was just kind of making edits. And I'm just thinking, like, if someone approaches me now and questions me about all the schizo things I do on the internet, it's gonna be quite tough to explain. And I know I'm talking about knowing your truth and whatsoever. I know I speak about, um, living in your own truth, living authentically. And that's what I still do. But I'm not going to lie when I still say that I get a bit shy. And, having eyes on me kind of makes me feel uneasy. It makes me a bit nervous. It's a bit different now when I'm speaking on the internet because when I'm speaking on the internet, it just kind of feels like I'm speaking to like a virtual diary and, speaking to people who I like. But if you live in a country like mine where people aren't really, on the same sort of wavelength as you are, it can turn into an interrogation quite soon. But I have such a need to be speaking. I have such a need to say things. I deactivated my Instagram a while back, but I activated it again because like I make music and stuff and I promote it there. And one the reason why I deactivated my Instagram and my TikTok is because I kind of felt like I wasn't living and doing the things that I wanted to. I felt like I wasn't doing content that I truly wanted to. I felt like I had to do my hair, I had to look a certain way. And, I stopped in my tracks pretty quickly because I couldn't see myself living like that forever. And I didn't want to be seen as someone who. I wanted to be seen as something more than that. I wanted to be seen as someone who talks about things that, everyone talks about. I'm not special by any means. Nothing new is underneath the sun, but I didn't want to be seen as some girlie who makes edits on the internet, but I just wanted to be seen as, someone who actually has some sort of substance to her. And I hope that you think I have some sort of substance, because I feel like I do. But regardless, um, people coming up to me and still saying that I see a YouTube, whatever, whatever, it kind of scares me. I think one issue with this, that's obviously my fault, is because I'm kind of scared that people won't think I'm as cool as I am on, I guess, the camera, if you think I'm cool, or they think that I'm not as intellectual, or low-key, I'm not even an intellectual, I'm not gonna lie. Or they think I'm not as XYZ as they see me on the camera. I think it also stems from a something that I've been kind of struggling with most of my life, and that is I've always been underestimated. I've always been undermined, mostly because um, I'm more, I guess, level headed when I'm here, but I exist within like a gray area because I can be so, how do I say this, childlike. I can be childlike, I can be kind of jumping around. And when people see that in me, they kind of think this girl kind of knows nothing. And it's also, I guess, caused a lot of people to think that they can kind of walk over me. And then when they find out that that isn't the case, kind of all hell breaks loose. Basically, it's kind of scary when you have to link who you are as a person online versus who you are when when the camera is off. And that's why when I watch other YouTubers, I try to think about, how, when I start thinking about how, wow, this is a good YouTuber, whatever, whatever, I'm like, you know what? Realistically, the person that they're showing on camera is just such a small fraction of who they are as a person, because they do have good things, they do have bad things about them, but those are just things that I don't see. And such is a like for me. When I tell you that I am not a good person, I am not lying. Brother slash sister, I was banned from Instagram in 2019 because I would wreak havoc on that platform. I was a menace. I mean, I'll tell the truth, but sometimes I was a bully. But a lot of it was projection, I'm not gonna lie. And I'm kind of happy it's gone because now that digital footprint is not there. And I guess I can't be cancelled over that, but I guess I'm already cancelling myself, so that's already done. But basically, I think my fear of being seen is the fear of people finding out, everything else about me and kind of saying, oh, but she's not the person I chalked her up to be. But then again, all I'm showing is myself. And the assumptions that people make online is the issue. And I've done that too to other creators. And, especially when I was a bit younger, if I see that they would have a normal trait like getting angry at something that's totally valid, it would give me the ick. But now thinking back at it, I'm like, what gives me the right to get the ick from someone else truly just being a human? And I feel like this has ruined, or this perception of social media that I've had in my head has ruined a lot of my experience on social media. Realistically, I'm not a person who scrolls a lot. I am maybe averaging around 20 minutes a day on Instagram, and some days I don't even go on TikTok. But YouTube is my vice. I'm not gonna lie. It was so bad that sometimes, I'd say up until like last year, I would spend maybe 17 hours a day on YouTube. But that's also because I was watching like 5-hour documentary and video essays. But I feel like I'm staying away from what I wanted to say. So basically, I hope what I'm saying is making sense. But I'm scared of the fact that who I am, portraying on social media, people will kind of create assumptions. And then once they see who I am as a person, they get disappointed. But now you're thinking, why should I care? Why should you care for people to get disappointed? Well, because I still act with my flesh somehow. And obviously, I live in a society and I still want to be liked by society. Although I'm trying to break out of the society so hard. It's much better than where I was back then, but it still lingers in the back of my mind. It's much different if no one knew who I was and I was kind of just roaming as a as a as a particle in the ether, you know? it's much different than that, than people knowing me and then finding out where I am and then meeting me and then finding out that, I'm not as talkative. I'm kind of socially stunted. Um, and yeah, all sorts of other things, or I'm a bit too schizo, or I'm a bit too um, normal, or whatever the heck. And yeah, I was actually thinking about this quite a while ago of how you shouldn't meet your heroes. And there's this one YouTuber I watch. Um, at first, I didn't want to watch their channel because I was a bit apprehensive. And then one day I was like, let me just watch their channel. And I started watching them and I was like, wow, this person has such great takes. I would love to be this person's friend. But, I had to step back and think like, there are other times when you didn't want to watch this person because of XYZ. Number one, was it projection? Or was it because there are actual traits about this person that generally does make you feel uncomfortable? And there were traits of the person that did genuinely make me feel uncomfortable, but I had to realize that social media isn't showing us the whole picture. And likewise, I hope that throughout the development of this channel, you can kind of see my true picture. Obviously, I'll keep some part of my life private because I like my peace and I like my space. But it's kind of a thing where, if you meet your heroes, you should also kind of realize that your heroes are human. And that for me is something that I never really um, took into mind. But I mean, I don't know if anyone, I don't know why anyone would consider me a hero, but in the case that I do meet any of you guys, um, I'm a person and I'm a human. I am happy. I am healthy. I am a human being. If you get that reference, you get that reference. But yeah, that's kind of all I need to say. I feel like this video is kind of scattered. I just wanted to kind of talk about this, and I don't even really know what I wanted to say. I just think that it's my fear of being seen stems from the fact that number one, I feel like I was undermined quite a lot and kind of shoved into a small box when I was I guess growing up, and number two, um my insecurity with being myself, I guess, which I'm still learning to do. I'm still trying to grow into my meat skin like a hermit crab. And yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to say. I hope you understood this video. I feel like it was all over the place. Yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to say.